One of my favorite stitches on the Singer Fashion Mate 3342 is what is considered a triple straight stitch. So it's the same area that your regular straight stitch is in, but we're going to go over to the blue S1. So if you notice, there's 3 stitches, it looks like 3 stitches next to each other. They're not going to be next to each other, they're going to be on top of each other. So if you're ever looking for a stitch, number one, that is got some stretch or give to it, it's triply reinforced, it looks like you're sewing with extra thick thread, you are going to see what I love about this stitch. Now I'm sewing on the diagonal here because I want to show you it's going to have the give that we're looking for. It's going to stitch 2 stitches forward, 1 stitch back. 2 stitches forward and then 1 back. So you'll see it does take a little longer to stitch out. I love this stitch decoratively because then I can put in any color of thread and have a really bold looking stitch. If I'm needing to reinforce something or sewing through something really thick, this would be another stitch I would choose. So if you've ever had to stitch something multiple times and you sew it 3 times and it looks like you sewed it 3 times and people are like, ooh, did you make that? And I'm like, yeah. Well, what if you used a stitch like this that looks more professional, it's thicker, it stretches and has the give, and yet it's all in the same hole as it did the 2 stitches forward, 1 stitch back. Now there's also a zigzag version of this, so if you just turn it over to the zigzag, pick the blue one. And by the way, the red and blue are the same stitch on this machine, so it wouldn't matter if you actually turned it to the blue S1 or the red S2. You get the same exact stitch. Oh, so if you go to a zigzag, you will need to, and I'm going to bring my needle up so I can move my width. If you leave it at 0, you still get the straight stitch, so if you want a zigzag, add some width, and then it will stitch the zigzag. So you don't adjust length on these stitches, but you can adjust width. So if I'm going to do a wider version of this, or let's just do a smaller, narrower version, you can see all this. Again, this almost looks like rickrack. It can be used decoratively, but it's definitely a very reinforced stitch, as you can see by the outcome. Still has that stretch and give, but it is well stitched. So whether you use it for a utility stitch or a decorative stitch, make sure you try out both the single version and the triple version of those first 2 stitches.